The Great Hall of the Galactic Council Station buzzed with excitement. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the massive room, their voices mixing together in a symphony of different languages. Today was the day they would see the newest ships joining the combined fleet. Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood near the back of the crowd, his dark uniform simple compared to the colorful robes and armor worn by the alien commanders. He watched as holographic displays showed off the latest warships from across the galaxy. First came the Viridian ships. They looked like green jewels floating in space, their hulls smooth and shining. The crowd made impressed sounds as the displays showed their powerful energy weapons and lightning-fast speed. "Beautiful," whispered someone nearby. "Like living emeralds." Next were the Krathen vessels. These ships were giants, black and silver monsters covered in weapon ports. Their plasma cannons could melt through asteroid belts. The Krathen war chief, a creature that looked like a walking tank, stood proudly as his ships rotated on the display. The Ashanti fleet came third. Their ships seemed to dance in space, white and graceful like swans. They moved so smoothly that watching them felt like seeing a ballet performance among the stars. Each time a new fleet appeared, the crowd cheered and clapped. Alien commanders nodded to each other with respect. These were the ships that would protect the galaxy. Then it was Earth's turn. The hologram flickered and showed a single ship. The UES Baekdu hung in space like an old tool forgotten in a garage. Its gray hull was marked with scratches and burn marks from many battles. Compared to the shining alien vessels, it looked like junk. The great hall fell silent. Then someone laughed. "Is this some kind of joke?" The voice belonged to Commander Veltar, leader of the Viridian fleet. His blue skin sparkled in the light as he pointed at the display. "This pile of scrap metal is supposed to fight alongside our ships?" More laughter filled the hall. The Krathen war chief made a sound like grinding rocks, which Hyun-woo knew was their way of laughing. "Maybe the humans made a mistake," said another voice. "Perhaps they meant to send us their garbage hauler by accident." Hyun-woo felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. He had expected this reaction. The Baekdu did not look impressive on the outside. That was the point. Admiral Tae-min Choi, Earth's representative, stepped forward. His gray hair was neat, and his uniform was perfect, but Hyun-woo could see the anger in his eyes. "The UES Baekdu has served Earth well for 15 years. Admiral Choi said in a steady voice. "Captain Kim and his crew have never lost a battle." This only made the aliens laugh harder. "Against what enemies?" Commander Veltar asked with a smirk. "Space pirates, broken satellites?" Even some of the human representatives in the crowd looked embarrassed. Commander Sora Park, who now served on a Krathen ship, shook her head and looked away. She had gone to the academy with Hyun-woo, but now she seemed ashamed to know him. The Ashanti fleet leader, a tall being with silver skin, spoke in a musical voice. "Perhaps the human ship would be better suited for cargo duty. We need ships to carry supplies to the front lines, or medical evacuation," suggested another alien. "When real warships get damaged, this vessel could rescue the wounded." Hyun-woo watched it all happen. Every joke, every insult, every dismissive wave of an alien hand. His crew was not here to see this, which was probably good. They would have been angry, and he needed them focused. The truth was that the Baekdu was special, but not in any way these aliens could understand. Hidden beneath its scarred hull were systems that no other ship in the galaxy possessed. Chief Engineer Dong-hyun Lee had spent years building these modifications in secret. The ship's real armor was not the metal plates they could see. Layers of adaptive materials lined the inner hull, designed to absorb and redirect energy attacks. The weapon systems were completely hidden, built into what looked like normal hull sections. Most importantly, the Baekdu carried something no alien ship had: human creativity. Every system could be modified, every tactic could be changed, every battle plan could be thrown away if needed. The aliens built their ships to follow rules. Humans built their ships to break them. But none of this showed on the outside. To alien eyes, the Baekdu looked exactly like what they thought it was: an old, weak ship that should not be fighting alongside their advanced vessels. "I have a suggestion," Commander Veltar announced loudly. "Let us assign the human ship to The rear guard, with the supply vessels and hospital ships, somewhere safe where it cannot get in the way of real warriors. The crowd murmured agreement. This seemed like a reasonable solution to everyone except the humans. Admiral Choi's face grew red, but before he could speak, alarms began ringing throughout the station. A young officer ran into the hall, his face pale with fear. He whispered something to the council leader, an ancient being whose species Haiyan Wu did not recognize. The council leader's voice boomed across the hall. "We have received an emergency signal from the Outer Rim. The Nexus Armada has been detected, moving toward our core worlds." The laughter died instantly. The Nexus Armada was the galaxy's worst nightmare. Hundreds of automated warships that had appeared from unknown space. They attacked without warning, without mercy, and without any way to communicate or negotiate. Worse yet, their ships could adapt to any weapon fired at them, learning and evolving with each battle. "How many ships?" Admiral Choi asked. "Our scouts. Estimate over 300 vessels," the council leader replied. "They will reach the Centauri system in 72 hours. The hall erupted in worried voices. 300 Nexus ships was more than anyone had ever seen together. Previous encounters had involved groups of 10 or 20 at most, and those battles had been costly. "Every available ship must respond," the council leader continued. "We will assemble the largest fleet in galactic history." Haiyan Wu felt a cold smile touch his lips. Finally, the Baekdu would get to show what it could really do. "Including the human vessel?" Commander Veltar asked, as if he could not believe such an old ship would be useful. "Every ship," the council leader repeated firmly. "We cannot afford to leave any weapon unused." As the aliens rushed to contact their fleets and prepare for battle, Haiyan Wu quietly left the hall. He had calls to make and systems to check. The Baekdu might look like junk to alien eyes, but it was about to become the most important ship in the galaxy. He just hoped they would live long enough for the aliens to realize their mistake. The mockery was over. Now came the real test. The combined fleet looked like a metal city floating in space. Over 800 ships from 30 different species had gathered near the Jupiter system. The largest warships were the size of small moons, while the smallest fighters buzzed around them like angry insects. Captain Haiyan Wu Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Baekdu, watching the tactical display. His ship was positioned at the very back of the formation, surrounded by supply vessels and hospital ships. The message was clear. The aliens still thought his ship was useless for real fighting. "Captain," said Tactical Officer Ji Wan-yun, looking up from her console. "Fleet Command is sending us the battle plan." The holographic display showed the fleet's formation. At the front were the powerful Krathan dreadnoughts, their black hulls bristling with plasma cannons. Behind them came the fast Viridian cruisers ready to strike like green lightning. The graceful Ashanti ships would provide support from the flanks, and at the very back, marked with a small gray dot, was the Baekdu. "Supply and medical support," Jiwan read from the orders. "We are to remain at least 50,000 kilometers from the main battle and provide assistance to damaged vessels." Pilot Minho Jung turned from his controls, his young face angry. "They want us to watch from the sidelines while real ships do the fighting." "Easy, Minho," Captain Haiyan Wu said quietly. "Our time will come." Communications Officer Yejin Shin suddenly looked up, her headset blinking with an incoming message. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Krathan flagship. They want to speak with you." The main screen flickered to life, showing the massive form of War Chief Gorthak. The alien leader looked like a walking tank, covered in black armor, with glowing red eyes. "Human Captain," Gorthak's voice rumbled like an earthquake. "My sensors show your vessel carries projectile weapons. This is unusual." "We prefer tried and tested methods," Haiyan Wu replied calmly. Gorthak made the grinding sound that passed for Krathan laughter. "Bullets and explosives against the Nexus fleet? You might as well throw rocks at a starship. When this battle begins, stay out of our way. We do not want your primitive weapons causing accidents." The transmission ended abruptly. Minho's hands clenched on his controls, but Haiyan Wu remained calm. He had heard worse insults in his 15 years of service. "Sir," Yejin said quietly, I've been monitoring communications between the alien ships. They're talking about us. What are they saying? The Viridian commander called us acceptable losses. The Ashanti fleet leader suggested we might draw enemy fire away from important ships. Weapons specialist Hai Jin Quan looked up from his station, his face dark with anger. They want to use us as bait. Let them think that, Chief Engineer Dong Hyun Lee said as he entered the bridge. His uniform was stained with oil and he carried a data pad full of system reports. Captain, all hidden systems are ready. The aliens have no idea what we're really carrying. Hyun Woo nodded. The Baekdu's true weapons were still secret, railguns, hidden in cargo bay panels. Nuclear warheads disguised as sensor arrays. Kinetic kill vehicles stored in what looked like spare parts containers. The ship appeared to carry only basic laser turrets and missile tubes. How long until we reach the Nexus fleet? Hyun Woo asked. Scanner operator Jae Hyun. Kim checked his displays. 18 hours, sir. Our scouts report the enemy is maintaining course and speed. Medical officer Soo Jin Han entered the bridge carrying a medical kit. Captain, I've been preparing for casualties. The alien ships will take heavy damage in this fight. Their energy-based weapons won't work well against Nexus adaptive armor. You sound certain about that, Hyun Woo said. I've studied the previous battle reports. Every time someone fires an energy weapon at a Nexus ship, it adapts within seconds. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, they all become useless after the first few hits. Intelligence Officer Woo Sung-nam stepped forward, holding a tablet. Dr. Han is correct, sir. I've analyzed 17 previous encounters with Nexus forces. Their ships learn from every attack. But there's something interesting in the data. What did you find? No one has ever tried kinetic weapons against them. Every species in the galaxy uses energy-based systems. The Nexus ships have never had to adapt to old-fashioned bullets and bombs. Navigation Officer Kyung-Soo Park looked up from his station. Captain, we're receiving new formation orders. They want us to move even further back. The tactical display, updated, showing the Baekdu pushed to the very rear of the fleet, almost 50,000 kilometers behind the medical ships. Hyun Woo felt his jaw tighten. They really don't want us anywhere near the fighting. Sir, Yejin said, pressing her headset closer to her ear. I'm picking up chatter from the alien ships. They're making bets about how long we'll last when the shooting starts. How long do they give us? Minho asked. Most say less than 5 minutes. The Krathen are betting we'll run away before the battle even begins. Silence fell over the bridge. Every member of Hyun Woo's crew had served with him for years. They had fought pirates, rebels, and rogue AI systems. They had never run from a fight, and they were not about to start now. Captain, Dong Hyun said quietly, the adaptive armor plating is fully charged. Our kinetic weapons are loaded and ready. The Nexus ships won't know what hit them. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the fleet. Jae Hyun's scanner display lit up with red contacts. Contact, he shouted. Nexus scouts, 3 ships approaching from the front of our formation. The main screen switched to show the tactical display. 3 dark shapes moved toward the combined fleet like sharks sensing blood in the water. They were smaller than the main Nexus warships, but still deadly. All ships, engage the scouts, came the order from Fleet Command. The front line of Krathen, dreadnoughts opened fire first. Massive plasma bolts streaked across space, striking the lead Nexus scout. The alien ship's hull glowed white-hot for a moment, then suddenly returned to its normal dark color. Direct hit, no damage, reported the Krathen gunner. The Viridian cruisers fired next. Green energy beams lanced out, striking all 3 scouts. Simultaneously, again the Nexus ships absorbed the energy and continued their approach. Impossible. Commander Veltar's voice crackled over the communications channel. Our weapons had no effect at all. The Ashanti ships tried their particle cannons. Beautiful streams of silver energy reached out like fingers of light touching the Nexus scouts. The result was the same, no damage. They're adapting in real time, Woo Sung said, watching his intelligence displays. The Nexus ships are analyzing every energy signature and building defenses against them. The 3 scouts suddenly accelerated, moving faster than anyone expected. They fired back with weapons that looked like black lightning. The energy bolts struck a Krathan dreadnought, and the massive ship's shields failed instantly. "Hull breach on Deck 7, came the panicked report. "We're losing atmosphere." A second salvo destroyed a Viridian cruiser completely. The green ship simply vanished in a flash of dark energy. "All ships, fall back," Fleet Command ordered. "Maintain distance and analyze their weapons," but it was too late. The third Nexus scout fired at an Ashanti vessel, cutting through its graceful hull like a sword through silk. In less than 2 minutes, 3 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had been destroyed or crippled by just 3 Nexus scouts. "Captain," G1 said, her voice tight with worry, "if 3 scouts can do this much damage, what will 300 main warships do to us?" Hyunwoo watched the retreating alien fleet, saw the fear in their communications, heard the panic in their voices. They had built their entire military philosophy around energy weapons and energy shields. Against an enemy that could adapt to energy attacks, they were helpless. But the Baekdu was different. Hidden in its old, scarred hull were weapons the Nexus had never seen. Weapons they could not adapt to because they worked on completely different principles. "Sir," Yijin said, "Fleet Command is ordering all ships to maintain maximum distance from enemy contacts. They're scared." Hyunwoo looked at his crew. Each face showed the same determination he felt. They had been dismissed, mocked, and pushed aside. But soon, very soon, they would show the galaxy what humans could really do. "Let them be scared," he said quietly. "Fear makes people make mistakes. And when they do, we'll be ready." The main screen on the Baekdu's bridge showed a sight that made everyone's blood run cold. Where the sensors had detected 300 Nexus ships, there were now over 500. Dark shapes filled the scanner display like a plague of metal. "Locusts. They're reproducing," scanner operator Jae-hyun Kim said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Nexus ships are building more of themselves." Captain Hyunwoo Kim felt ice in his stomach. Bad news was getting worse by the hour. The combined fleet had already lost 3 ships to just 3 scouts. Now they faced an enemy that was growing stronger while they watched. "Captain," Communications Officer Ye-jin Shin called out, "Fleet Command is sending new orders to all ships." The tactical display updated, showing the battle formation. The alien ships spread out in a wide line, trying to avoid being surrounded. The Krathan dreadnoughts took the center, their black hulls gleaming with weapon ports. Viridian cruisers moved to the flanks, ready to strike fast and retreat. Ashanti vessels floated behind the main line, elegant and deadly. The Baekdu remained at the very back, now almost 100,000 kilometers from the front lines. "They've pushed us even further away," pilot Minho Jang said, anger clear in his voice. "Sir," Yejin continued, "I'm monitoring command frequencies. The alien leaders are arguing." Hyunwoo nodded. "Put it on speaker. Let's hear what they're really thinking." Static filled the bridge, then voices came through clearly. War Chief Gorthak's rumbling tones mixed with Commander Veltar's higher pitch and the musical voice of the Ashanti fleet leader. "This is madness," Veltar was saying. "Our weapons cannot penetrate their adaptive hulls. We need to retreat and find another strategy." "Retreat is not the Krathan way," Gorthak growled. "We will ram their ships if necessary. Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy." "Your armor means nothing if their weapons can cut through it like paper," the Ashanti leader replied. "We saw what happened to your dreadnought when the scouts fired." "Then what do you suggest?" Gorthak demanded. "That we abandon the core worlds to these machines?" Silence followed. No one had a good answer. Intelligence Officer Woo Sung-nam looked up from his analysis station. "Captain, I've been studying the Nexus fleet movement. They're not just growing in number, they're learning from our formation." "What do you mean?" "Watch this." Woo Sung transferred his data to the main screen. The Nexus ships started in a simple attack formation, but look how they've changed. The display showed the enemy fleet reshaping itself. Ships moved into new positions that perfectly countered the combined fleet's defensive line. It was like watching a chess master respond to every move before it was even made. "They're adapting to our tactics the same way they adapt to our weapons," Chief Engineer Dong-hyun Lee said grimly. "Every strategy we try, They learn and counter. Medical Officer Su Jin Han entered the bridge carrying updated casualty projections. Her face was pale. Captain, based on what happened with the scouts, we're looking at total fleet destruction within the first hour of battle. That bad? Yan Wu asked. Worse. The alien ships use energy-based medical systems too. If the Nexus can adapt to weapons, they can probably adapt to healing technology. Wounded alien crews might not survive even minor injuries. Suddenly, the alarm klaxons throughout the fleet began wailing. Jae-hyun's scanner display exploded with red contacts. The main Nexus fleet is accelerating, he shouted. They'll be in. Weapons range in 30 minutes. The command channel erupted with panicked voices. Ship captains demanded new orders. Tactical officers reported system failures and medical teams prepared for the worst. All ships assume battle formation, came the order from Fleet Command. Engage at maximum range. Hyun-woo watched the alien fleet spread out, their ships moving like dancers in a deadly ballet. They looked magnificent and terrifying at the same time. But he knew it was all for show. The moment the Nexus ships fired back, this beautiful formation would become a graveyard. Captain, Tactical Officer Ji Won-yoon said, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Nexus ships. Whatever weapons they're charging, they're much more powerful than what the scouts carried. How much more powerful? Enough to destroy a dreadnought with a single shot. On the main screen, the first exchange of fire began. The Krathen ships opened up with everything they had. Hundreds of plasma bolts streaked across space like red meteors. The barrage was so intense it lit up the darkness between stars. The plasma struck the leading Nexus ships, and for a moment, hope flickered in the combined fleet. The enemy hulls glowed white-hot under the bombardment. Then the glow faded. The Nexus ships continued forward, completely undamaged. Impossible, Gorthak's voice crackled over the comm. That was our full opening salvo. Nothing should survive that much firepower. The Viridian cruisers fired next. Green energy beams lanced out, striking dozens of Nexus ships simultaneously. Again, the enemy absorbed the energy and kept coming. They're not just adapting, Wu Sung said, studying his displays. They're evolving. Each shot makes them stronger against the next one. Ashanti ships tried a different approach. Instead of direct fire, they launched energy torpedoes that curved and twisted through space, trying to hit the Nexus ships from unexpected angles. The torpedoes found their targets, exploding in brilliant flashes of silver light. When the light faded, the Nexus ships were still there, still advancing, still completely undamaged. All weapons ineffective, came the report from Fleet Command. All ships prepare for defensive action, but there was no defense against what came next. The Nexus fleet fired as one. Black energy bolts, darker than the space around them, reached out like fingers of death. Where they touched alien ships, matter simply ceased to exist. A Krathen dreadnought took a direct hit amidships. The massive vessel, 3 kilometers long and covered in the strongest armor in the galaxy, vanished. Not destroyed, not broken apart, just gone, as if it had never existed. 2 Viridian cruisers tried to dodge, their ships dancing through space with impossible grace. The dark energy followed them, bending and curving to match their movements. Both ships disappeared in flashes of anti-light. An Ashanti vessel attempted to shield itself with energy barriers. The Nexus bolt passed through the shields like they were empty air, erasing the elegant ship from existence. Fleet casualties at 30% and rising, Ye-jin reported, her voice shaking. Ships are requesting permission to retreat. Negative, came the reply from Fleet Command. We cannot abandon the core worlds. All ships continue engagement. But there was nothing to engage with. Every weapon the aliens tried proved useless. Energy shields failed, armor meant nothing, and speed couldn't save them from weapons that curved to follow their targets. More ships died. The beautiful Ashanti vessels disappeared one by one. Krathen dreadnoughts, built to last for centuries, vanished in seconds. Viridian cruisers fast enough to outrun light itself couldn't escape the dark energy that hunted them. Captain, Minho said, his hands gripping his controls. We have to do something. We can't just watch them all die. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. Every face showed the same desperate determination. They had been pushed to the back, dismissed as worthless, told to stay out of the way, but watching the slaughter of their allies was more than any of them could bear. "Sir," Donghyun said quietly, "all our hidden systems are ready. The railguns are loaded, the kinetic warheads are armed, and the adaptive armor is fully charged." "Request permission to move to combat range," Ji-won suggested. "They'll refuse," Hyunwoo replied. "Fleet Command still thinks we're just a supply ship." "Then don't ask," Weapons Specialist Hae-jin Kwon said. "Just do it." Navigation Officer Kyung-soo Park looked up from his station. "Captain, at current casualty rates, the entire fleet will be destroyed in less than 20 minutes. If we're going to act, it has to be now." Hyunwoo closed his eyes for a moment. His orders were clear. Stay back, avoid combat, provide support only, but his orders had been written by people who didn't understand what they were facing. When he opened his eyes, his decision was made. "All hands, battle stations," he said calmly. "Minho, take us toward the enemy fleet, best possible speed." "Sir?" Yejin asked. "Should I request permission from Fleet Command?" "No," Hyunwoo replied. "By the time they approve it, there won't be a fleet left to save." The Baekdu turned away from the supply ships and headed toward the battle. Behind them, the combined fleet continued to die. Ahead of them, the Nexus ships advanced like a wall of death. It was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. "All hands, battle stations. It's time to show them what humans can do." Captain Hyunwoo Kim's words echoed through the UES Baekdu as the ship charged toward the Nexus fleet. Behind them, the combined fleet was dying. Ahead of them, 500 enemy ships waited like a wall of death. Pilot Min Ho-jang pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The old ship groaned and shook, but it held together. Years of careful maintenance by Chief Engineer Dong-hyun Lee paid off as every system responded perfectly. "Captain," Communications Officer Yejin Shin called out, "Fleet Command is ordering us to return to the supply convoy immediately." "Tell them our communications are damaged," Hyunwoo replied, calmly. "We can't receive their orders." Yejin smiled for the first time in hours. "Yes, sir. Communications are completely broken." On the main screen, the Nexus ships grew larger as the Baekdu approached. Up close, they looked like black metal nightmares. No windows, no decorations, just smooth hulls covered in weapon ports. They moved with perfect coordination like parts of a single giant machine. "Distance to target?" Hyunwoo asked. Scanner operator Jae-hyun Kim checked his displays. 50,000 kilometers in closing. They're starting to turn toward us." "Good. Let them think we're just another easy target." Tactical Officer Ji-won-yoon studied the enemy formation. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in their weapon systems. They're preparing to fire." "How long do we have?" 30 seconds, maybe less." Hyunwoo looked at his crew. Every person on the bridge was ready. They had trained for this moment for years, even if they hadn't known it at the time. "Dong-hyun," he said into his comm, "are you ready down there?" The chief engineer's voice crackled back from the engine room. "All hidden systems are online, Captain. The aliens are about to get the surprise of their lives." "Weapons status?" Weapons Specialist Hae-jin Kwon looked up from his station, his eyes bright with anticipation. "Railguns charged and loaded, nuclear warheads armed, kinetic kill vehicles, ready for launch. Sir, we're carrying enough firepower to level a small moon." "Then let's use it." The Nexus ships fired first. Black energy bolts streaked toward the Baekdu, the same weapons that had erased dozens of alien ships from existence. But the Baekdu was not like other ships. The dark energy struck the human vessel's outer hull and simply stopped. The adaptive armor that Dong-hyun had spent years perfecting absorbed the attack and spread the energy harmlessly across the ship's frame. "No damage," Jae-hyun reported, his voice filled with amazement. The adaptive armor held perfectly. Inside the Nexus fleet, sensors tried to understand what had happened. Their weapons had never failed before. Every ship they had encountered had been destroyed or severely damaged by the first salvo. This old scarred human vessel had taken their best shot and shrugged it off. "Fire," Hyunwoo said quietly. The Bekdu's hidden weapon ports opened for the first time. What the aliens had thought were cargo bay panels slid apart, revealing the barrels of massive railguns. What looked like sensor arrays split open to show nuclear warheads. What appeared to be spare parts containers launched kinetic kill vehicles. The first railgun shot struck a Nexus ship at 20% of light speed. The tungsten projectile, nothing more than a chunk of metal moving very fast, punched through the enemy's adaptive hull like it was paper. The Nexus ship had adapted to energy weapons. It had learned to counter plasma, lasers, and particle beams. But it had never seen a simple piece of metal traveling at impossible speed. The ship exploded. "Direct hit," He-Jin shouted. "Target destroyed." But the Bekdu was just getting started. Nuclear warheads launched from hidden tubes flew toward the Nexus formation. These were not energy weapons. They were simple atomic explosions, the kind humans had been building for centuries. The first warhead detonated in the middle of a cluster of enemy ships. The nuclear fire expanded outward, and 3 Nexus vessels simply vanished in the blast. Their adaptive armor, designed to counter energy beams, could not protect them from the raw force of splitting atoms. "Multiple targets destroyed," Ji-won reported, her voice rising with excitement. The kinetic kill vehicles were the most devastating of all. Each one split into dozens of smaller projectiles, all moving at different speeds and angles. The Nexus ship's learning computers tried to track them, but there were too many moving too unpredictably. Chunks of metal, explosive warheads, and simple iron balls struck enemy ships from every direction. The Nexus adaptive systems, built to counter sophisticated energy weapons, had no defense against rocks thrown hard enough. Ship after ship exploded or broke apart. The perfect formation of the Nexus fleet began to collapse as vessels died faster than they could adapt. "Navigation, evasive maneuvers," Hyeon Woo ordered. "Don't let them get a lock on us." Navigation Officer Kyung-Soo Park sent the Bekdu dancing through space. The old ship moved like a fighter, spinning and diving between enemy fire. Years of practice had made the human crew work like a single organism. The Nexus ships tried to return fire, but their targeting systems couldn't keep up. Every time they fired at where the Bekdu was, the human ship had already moved somewhere else. "Their weapons are designed for predictable targets," Intelligence Officer Woo Sung-nam observed. "They can't handle our flying pattern." More railgun shots found their targets. Each tungsten projectile destroyed or crippled a Nexus ship. The enemy had no counter for simple kinetic energy delivered at incredible speed. "Captain," Ye-jin said, "I'm monitoring communications from the surviving alien ships. They're amazed." "What are they saying?" "Commander Veltar just asked how an obsolete human vessel is destroying ships that their entire fleet couldn't touch." On the tactical display, the numbers told the story. The Nexus fleet, which had seemed unstoppable minutes before, was being torn apart. 50 ships destroyed, then 100, then more. But the enemy was not giving up. The remaining Nexus ships began to spread out, trying to surround the lone human vessel. "They're adapting to our tactics," Ji-won warned. "Changing formation to box us in." "Then we adapt too," Hyun-woo replied. "He-jin, deploy the scatter mines." Hidden compartments all over the Bekdu's hull opened, releasing hundreds of small devices. They looked like simple metal spheres, but each one contained explosive charges and proximity sensors. The Nexus ships, focused on the main target, flew straight into the minefield. Explosions bloomed throughout their formation as the simple weapons found their targets. 60 more enemy ships destroyed, Jae-hyun reported. Medical Officer Soo-jin Han entered the bridge, her face glowing with excitement. "Captain, I'm getting reports from the alien medical ships. Our attack is working. The Nexus fleet is actually retreating in some sectors." It was true. For the first time since the battle began, enemy ships were pulling back. The unstoppable force had met an immovable object, and something had to give. "Sir," Dong-hyun's voice came over the comm, "I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations in the remaining Nexus ships. They're trying to adapt to our kinetic weapons." "Can they do it?" "Not fast enough. We're destroying them faster than they can learn." Another spread of railgun fire tore through the enemy formation. Nuclear warheads detonated in brilliant flashes, each one taking multiple Nexus ships with it. The kinetic kill vehicles continued their deadly work, turning the galaxy's most advanced AI fleet into scrap metal. "Captain," Minho called out. "The surviving alien ships are moving to support us. They're following our lead." On the screen, Hyun-woo could see Krathan dreadnoughts and Viridian cruisers charging toward the battle. They had no effective weapons, but they were brave enough to try. "Tell them to stay back," he ordered. "We can handle this." And they could. The Baekdu, the ship that no one had taken seriously, was systematically destroying the most feared fleet in the galaxy. Not with advanced technology or sophisticated tactics, but with simple human stubbornness and the willingness to throw rocks at a very high speed. "Enemy fleet strength down to less than 100 ships, Jae-hyun reported. "They're continuing to retreat." "No," Hyun-woo said firmly. "We don't let them escape to threaten other worlds. Finish them." The final phase of the battle was swift and brutal. The remaining Nexus ships, their learning algorithms confused by weapons they had never encountered, fell one by one to the Baekdu's relentless assault. When the last enemy ship exploded, silence fell over the bridge. They had done it. One human ship had accomplished what an entire galactic fleet could not. The silence after the battle felt strange. For hours, space had been filled with explosions, weapons fire, and the screams of dying ships. Now there was only the quiet hum of the UES Baekdu's engines and the soft beeping of scanner equipment. "Captain," Hyun-woo Kim stood on his bridge looking at the tactical display. Where 500 Nexus ships had once threatened the galaxy, now there was only debris. Chunks of dark metal floated in space like the remains of a nightmare that had finally ended. "Final count, Jae-hyun," he said to his scanner operator. Scanner. Operator Jae-hyun Kim checked his displays one more time. "All enemy ships destroyed, Captain. 0 Nexus vessels remaining. The threat is eliminated." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Hyun-woo felt no joy yet. Too many good people had died today. The combined fleet had lost over 300 ships before the Baekdu could save them. "Damage report," he asked Chief Engineer Dong-hyun Lee over the comm. "Minor hull scoring from near misses," Dong-hyun replied. "Some overheated systems from pushing the engines too hard. Nothing we can't fix in a few hours." The old girl held together perfectly. "Captain," Communications Officer Ye-jin Shin said, "I'm receiving hundreds of transmissions from the surviving fleet. They want to talk to you. Put Commander Veltar through first." The main screen flickered to life, showing the Viridian commander. His blue skin looked pale, and his usual arrogant expression was gone. He looked like someone who had seen a miracle. "Captain Kim," Veltar said, his voice quiet and respectful. I owe you an apology. We all do. Your ship, your crew. You saved us all. We did what we had to do." Hyun-woo replied simply. "No, you did what we could not. Our most advanced weapons were useless. Our greatest ships were destroyed, but your primitive vessel accomplished the impossible." Veltar paused, looking ashamed. "I called your ship scrap metal. I was wrong. Will you accept my apology?" "Apology accepted, Commander." More calls followed. War Chief Gorthak, the proud Krathan leader, actually bowed his massive head in respect. "The Krathan people are in your debt, human. Your courage saved our worlds." The Ashanti fleet leader spoke in her musical voice, but now it carried deep emotion. "Captain Kim, we would be honored to learn from your tactics. Will you share your knowledge with us?" Pilot Minho Jang turned from his station, grinning widely. "Captain, they're asking us to teach them how to fight. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations want to learn from humans," Tactical Officer Ji-won Yoon added, wonder in her voice. Before Hyun-woo could respond, more ships appeared on the scanner. Admiral Taemin Choi had arrived with Earth's reserve fleet, expecting to find a battlefield. Instead, he found victory. Hyun-woo. The Admiral's voice came over the comm. "What in the name of Earth happened here? Our long-range sensors showed the entire combined fleet was being destroyed." "We handled it, sir," Hyun-woo replied. "You handled it? 500 Nexus ships? All destroyed, Admiral. The threat is over." Silence followed, as Admiral Choi processed this information. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with amazement. "Captain, prepare for immediate transport to the flagship. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you personally." An hour later, Yanwu found himself in the council chambers again, but this time, everything was different. The same alien leaders who had mocked his ship now stood when he entered. The same voices that had called the Baekdu worthless now spoke with deep respect. The council leader, the ancient being whose species he and Wu still didn't recognize, stepped forward. "Captain Kim, on behalf of all member worlds of the Galactic Council, I thank you. Your actions today saved billions of lives." "I had a good crew and a good ship," Yanwu replied. "That's all?" "No, Captain, you had something more. You had a different way of thinking." The council leader gestured to the assembled representatives. "We built our weapons to be sophisticated, elegant, efficient. You built yours to be simple, reliable, and effective." Commander Veltar stepped forward. "Captain, we've analyzed the battle recordings. Your kinetic weapons worked because they couldn't be adapted to. The Nexus ships were designed to counter energy-based attacks, but they had never encountered simple projectile weapons. Bullets and bombs," War Chief Gorthak rumbled. "Basic physics instead of advanced technology. Brilliant." Intelligence Officer Wu Sung-nam had accompanied Hyan-Wu to the meeting. He cleared his throat politely. "If I may, the success wasn't just about the weapons. It was about human unpredictability. We don't follow standard tactical doctrine because we're always ready to try something new." The Ashanti fleet leader nodded gracefully. "Your ship moved in patterns our computers couldn't predict. Even we couldn't guess what you would do next." "That's the point," Hyan-Wu said. "The moment you become predictable, you become vulnerable. Humans learned that lesson a long time ago." The council leader raised one ancient hand. "Captain Kim, the Galactic Council has voted unanimously. We would like to offer you command of a new joint task force. Ships from every member species, using both traditional technology and human kinetic weapons." Hyan-Wu looked surprised. "You want me to command alien ships?" "We want you to command our best ships," the council leader corrected, "with human tactics and human weapons. The galaxy needs protectors who think differently." "What about my crew?" "They would come with you, of course. Your people would help train ours. We have much to learn from human military thinking." Medical Officer Su Jin Han, who had also been invited to the meeting, stepped forward. "What about medical technology? Human healing methods might be useful too." "Everything," the council leader said firmly. "We want to learn everything. For too long we assumed that newer meant better, that complex meant superior. You've shown us that sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Commander Veltar spoke up again. "Captain, there's something else. The Council has voted to redesign our weapon systems. We're going to start building kinetic weapons based on your ship's designs. Railguns and missile launchers instead of energy cannons," War Chief Gorthak added. "Simple, reliable, effective." Yan-Wu felt a smile touch his lips. "You might want to keep some energy weapons too. Variety is important. The moment your enemies adapt to kinetic weapons, you'll need something else to surprise them with." "See?" the Ashanti fleet leader said to the others. "This is why we need human thinking, always planning 3 steps ahead." The formal ceremony took place a week later. The UES Baekdu, the ship that no one had taken seriously, was given a place of honor in the new combined fleet. Captain Hyan-Woo Kim was promoted to Fleet Admiral, with authority over ships from dozens of worlds. But the most satisfying moment came when they unveiled the new ship classes. Human-designed kinetic weapons were now standard on every vessel. Railguns, missile launchers, and projectile cannons replaced the elegant but ineffective energy weapons. The new ships were named after human military principles: adaptability, creativity, determination, and the most important one of all, never giving up. As Admiral Hyan-Woo stood on the bridge of his new flagship, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and alien vessels, Chief Engineer Dong-Hyun Lee joined him. "Sir, the aliens want to scrap the Baekdu and give you a brand new command ship. Latest technology, biggest weapons, fastest engines. Hyun-woo shook his head. The Baekdu stays with us. She's proven herself, and I trust her. But sir, the new ships are much more advanced. Dong-hyun, what did we learn from this whole experience? The engineer thought for a moment, then smiled. That newer isn't always better. That simple can be more effective than complex. That sometimes the old ways work best. Exactly. The Baekdu may not look like much, but she gets the job done. That's what matters. As the new fleet prepared for its first mission, patrol duty along the frontier, Hyun-woo reflected on how much things had changed. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations now looked to humans for military leadership. Ships throughout the fleet carried human weapons and used human tactics. But the most important change was in attitude. No one would ever again dismiss something just because it looked old or simple. The Baekdu had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. Never underestimate someone who's willing to fight with whatever they have. The ship that no one had taken seriously was now the symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. And in the captain's quarters of the scarred old vessel, Admiral Hyun-woo Kim kept a simple sign that read, "It's not the size of the ship that matters, but the size of the fight in its crew." The mockery was over. The respect had been earned. And the galaxy was safer, because sometimes the best solution is the simplest one.